My literature review showed how my linking growth mindset with effective collaborative learning was stretching the existing theory. Little empirical research was undertaken on this area. The article that was the most similar in aim and method was by Jose Hannum and John McCormick 2016, which looks at student behaviours in certain groups. Our data collection and analysis will either fill the gap in empirical data or prove this area as redundant. The takeaway points are that growth mindset is a fluid thing, which once aware of can be improved upon, but only if the participant is willing. Additionally, successful collaborative learning requires students to be strategically placed into groups. This is because if one participant is too narcissistic, they are more likely to take over the group's activity and the others will happily sit back. If on the other end of the scale they are too lazy, the group will fail to hand in a task as nobody wanted to take the weight of the task upon themselves. The main takeaway point is how we as teachers must assess the collaborative process rather than the final product. During my time on prac, I tried to implement my planned data collection procedure. However, only 2 out of 29 students returned signed consent forms. Due to ethical considerations and scope and sequence constraints, I was only able to conduct a collaborative activity with informal observation. I was not able to implement the growth mindset intervention or undertake the post-intervention surveys.
In my research, I'm looking at the seating plan of a classroom and if this supports future-focused pedagogies. Lucas, Claxton and Spencer, 2013, defined pedagogy in part as the science, art and craft of teaching and learning. It includes all of the decisions which are taken to create the broader learning culture and is a set of decisions that teachers and course designers take to orchestrate teaching and learning to achieve their desired outcomes. Historically, classrooms were set up for explicit teaching, where students worked independently, often in isolation from other students. Several articles describe the evolution of classroom design and why classrooms are set out in the fashion they are, and what barriers there are for change. In an empirical study by Brooks, 2010, he affirms that regardless of the cost to integrate classroom redesign, these are negated by the outcomes of the change. The research indicates a strong correlation between classroom design and social and academic rigour. However, the barriers for implementation primarily relate to physically changing the configuration based on teacher instruction and teachers not owning a room. In addition, Grimman, Vandenberg, Seggers and Sillison 2016 and McEwen, Stringer and Cairns 2015 suggest other barriers in changing classroom design relating to teacher training, whilst Shield, Greenland and Dockrell 2010 suggest inflated noise levels as the biggest hurdle. There are many themes that come out of the literature review, but the ones that were more prominent include student-centred learning, increase in academic and social rigour and an increase in engagement in collaborative learning. Questions were distributed to 15 teacher professionals, of which 9 agreed to sit down and participate in the research into the effects classroom design has on social and academic learning for future-focused pedagogies. All participants were members of HSIE faculties at Western Sydney schools and taught a mix of subjects. 5 of the 9 teachers had their own dedicated classroom, while the other 4 teachers had to teach in at least 5 different rooms throughout a teaching cycle. The current design of the teacher classroom resulted in 8 of the 9 teachers having either a U-shape or the traditional 2 seats in columns classroom design. All teachers agreed that classroom design was a key ingredient in reaching student outcomes, but not the only factor. These other factors included managing behaviour, space, cost and time. More than half of the teachers suggested that cost was a fundamental factor in not having their desired room. Interestingly, of the teachers that did have their dedicated room, the classroom design did not reflect a distinctive collaborative approach. It seems that the true cost, both in time and in dollars, of an intervention would need to be assessed and considered before this research task could be actioned.
My research topic is how Think Pair Share strategy enhances collaborative learning as a future-focused pedagogy. According to Vygotsky 1978, by collaborative learning, students can learn more than what they have already learned through observation and by sharing mental models. Think Pair Share technique was given by Frank Lyman and is widely practiced for promoting collaborative learning in the classroom. According to McTighe and Lyman 1988, students are given time before they respond to teachers' queries. In Think Pair Share, this concept is known as wait time. Bandura 1989 suggests the effectiveness of this technique. in improving collaborative learning in his social cognition theory by emphasizing on the reciprocal causality between behaviors, personal factors, and environmental factors. According to Samsel 2013 more detailed explanations, increased participation, improvement in students' confidence are some of the benefits of this technique which are conducive to collaborative activity in the class. The aim of the data collection in the interview is to extract detailed opinion and views of the participants regarding the questions being asked. In this interview, questions are framed in such a manner to get subjective views of the participants about think, pair, share technique and how it plays an important role in improving collaborative activity in the class. For this purpose, qualitative research methodology is used in the interview. I didn't have the opportunity to collect data because I don't have the opportunity to be practically in the class. I will do professional experience next semester.
This literature review identified a gap in research, and from there the research question: how do student perspectives on the integration of M-learning and collaborative learning inform teacher practice was developed. M-learning is the term given for learning facilitated through the use of mobile phones or similar mobile devices such as iPads and tablets. Research has shown that collaborative learning promotes self-directed learning, self-reliance, responsibility, as well as social interaction and communication with peers. The use of mobile devices in collaborative settings allows students access to a broader range of content to construct their own knowledge, problem solve, and learn skills that are transferable to the real-world context. Student perspectives are critical as they are the most affected by M-learning. Students identified that the integration of M-learning positively impacted engagement, motivation, understanding content, as well as enhancing their learning experiences. In collaborative learning activities, students found that through social interaction they were more engaged in building and developing social skills and problem solving. Teachers are critical to the successful adoption and integration of M-learning in classrooms. When M-learning is integrated with traditional teaching methods, this blended approach increased student motivation, engagement, as well as developing students' social skills, capacity for reflection, and critical thinking. The biggest barrier identified by teachers was their knowledge, experience, and support with using technology, as well as addressing student engagement and behaviour. The aim of the research was to understand students' perspectives on M-learning in the collaborative environments, to inform teacher perspectives and future practice in the advancing technological age. When undertaking the proposed research, permission was sought from the principal to undertake research in a classroom. However, due to time constraints, approval was not granted within the required period. The research process was amended and 5 teacher surveys were undertaken to ascertain teachers' initial perspectives of M-learning prior to the planned intervention. 4 out of 5 teachers have implemented M-learning in classrooms despite school policies banning the use of mobile phones in classrooms. Teachers' experiences in integrating M-learning collaborative learning environments was mixed, while 4 out of 5 teachers believe students would positively receive M-learning in classrooms. While teachers believe that students would benefit from increased student motivation, increased student engagement, access to additional content, and self-directed learning, teachers also believe that M-learning in collaborative environments would have some negative effects such as limited control over student devices, the devices as a distraction, accessing of inappropriate content, and difficulty in measuring on-task behaviour.
For our synthesized literature review, we each uploaded our own individual literature reviews onto a Google document for our group members to revise. Each person would then review all 4 of the literature reviews and identify certain terminology or word frequency to uncover the common factors. Then each team member would pull out these identified factors from each literature review and graphically organise this information into a mind map. This way it could be accessed quickly rather than having to reread the literature reviews. The frequent terms found in the literature reviews for effective collaborative learning were personal and social capabilities, student engagement, deeper learning, physical learning environment, social learning environment, and student-centered learning. By utilising the graph depicted in Soldana 2009, we simplify these codes into our themes. Our emanating themes are physical and social learning environment and social management skills.
This component covers the implementation of our Action Research Project. Our Action Research Project has been titled the CPP Program. The overarching outcomes for this program are for Year 7 students to enhance their personal and social capabilities by redesigning the classroom layout that enhances collaborative learning. Term 1 is considered the control term. This term, initial testing is conducted to provide a base level of where the students are now, and this is the benchmark for improvement. This term will provide insight where the students are up to both socially and academically. This is achieved through interviews, surveys, observations, and obtaining some of the students' work in class. Therefore, the CPP program is scheduled to launch in Term 2 once this groundwork has been achieved. Simultaneously to the pilot data being gathered, there is an extensive briefing to the executive team that outlines the CPP design and intentions. The executive team need to be very clear as to the direction of the program, as it will require their support throughout. Relevant consent forms and ethical considerations have been distributed to students and teachers alike. This ensures all sign-off has occurred prior to the program launching. The teacher will observe students through this action research project. In Term 2, the CPP program has commenced. The students are fully briefed in the CPP program, and those that have not returned the relevant consent forms are still able to participate in class like normal. However, their results are excluded from the program and not discussed. Pre-testing of the students, consisting of an interview and survey, are completed in the first few weeks of term. The intervention is administered and ongoing observation of the classroom is upheld. As the term approaches the last few weeks, students are again provided an additional interview and survey to complete. This data is analysed and reviewed and acted upon at the completion of term, so any changes can be made to the start of the following term. This process is repeated for terms 3 and 4, culminating in a final year analysis and presentation of findings back to the executive team on the successfulness or not of the CPP program.
Research is designed to improve knowledge and understanding of the participants by engaging them in collaborative activity and hence justifiable by its potential benefits. In this research, special consideration is given to beneficence and justice by reducing the risks of harm to the participants and ensuring that no participant should be exploited during the proposed research. Requirement for consent is a prerequisite for this research. Participants are required to sign a consent form after reading detailed information about the research proposal as well as understanding the implications of participating in the research. No coercion or pressure is used on the participants and hence their consent is voluntary. Participants can withdraw from research anytime. Triangulation method of data collection is advised, which consists of pre and post surveys, pre and post interviews, and observation methods. Data collected from our research suggests that students showed interest in team participation, dividing roles, and were focused towards their studies. Data shows that there was a decrease in disruptive behavior due to increased student engagement. Data shows that determination as well as devotion to carry out work till its completion has increased among students. In pursuit of finding an appropriate approach for their activity, students consulted their peers frequently. Data depicts students' capacity to accept others' opinion based on reasoning has enhanced significantly. Sharing materials, praising, encouraging others, waiting patiently are some of other results which our data reveals and is a consequence of collaborative learning. Results of our research study are conducive in enhancing students' social management skills.